It's weird to be here. I can't tell you. To be the guy saying, the Epstein distraction. It's like the inception of conspiracy. It's a conspiracy within a conspiracy within a conspiracy within a conspiracy. It's crazy. I'm watching Trump almost like, it's like a purposeful crash and burn. The things that he's saying and doing, the way this system is working. It's like supposed to make us think that we're so smart because we see through the things and we get this guy again. Look at how this guy runs. I give him all the credit for getting out there and doing it, but it's the funniest looking run I've ever seen. Like, he looks like it's exactly what I'm talking about. He looks like he's trying to make fun of gay people when he runs. He's like running as stereotypically gay as possible. Like he's trying to offend people. And that's what this whole Epstein thing seems like. This whole Trump thing, it's like, you're obviously trying to distract the people by releasing the MLK files. Are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Like everything Trump's doing, it seems to be like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, kind of like, don't you talk about the conspiracy, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There is no crazy conspiracy, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Like you would have to be, an absolute piece of shit. And I think this is actually a great way of outing the people. I sort of dawned on me yesterday, but at this point, I think Trump supporters are basically pedos. At this point, it's there's no other way around it. How else can you defend your support? Yeah, he's a pedo, but how could you possibly do that? How could anybody do that? Would anybody do that? Do any of you think that way? You don't care the guy's a pedo, but he's a really good doctor when he's not fucking with kids. Is that how you think? And I think that's what an unintentional positive of this is, that it pretty much comes down to that, right? At this point, if you're a MAGA douchebag, a Trumpanzee in any sort of way, you're outing yourself. And again, I think a lot of people don't realize just how big the pedo problem is. You haven't allowed yourself to fully grasp what it is. But like I say, how many pedo hunters do you personally know of on YouTube? And that's just YouTube. If you're in that world where you like watching guys like Gordon Flowers, Creep Catchers, DAP Against Predators, Pop Squad, you name it. There's endless people out there that are successfully catching predators every day. There are some groups that literally catch people every day. Chris Hansen, with the small network that he has, but at least he has the official police network working with him. When they do their sting operations, they catch 5, 6, 8 people a day, maybe more. So when you understand that, like, the people that are caught are the people that have the compulsion to actually show up. I don't want to say balls to show up, because that makes it sound like, you know, something that takes courage or whatever. It's not about balls, it's compulsion. They know it's fucking wrong, they know it's dangerous, but the compulsion is too much for them. And that's, again, that's the people that get caught. For every person that gets caught, you know, there's hundreds, if not thousands of hit-ups. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on? You know, hey, can you send me pictures? And then there's just like endless groups of dark web, disgusting motherfuckers who deal and trade in child exploitation materials. And they're sending each other videos, and they're sending each other pictures and shit like that. And that industry is one of the largest industries. Who are suppliers in that industry? They make shit tons of money, like just ungodly money, which shows you that it's so much worse than you actually think it is. You think, oh, a couple of people get caught online, this, that. You just have no idea how many of those people exist, how many of those people are everywhere around us. And so when they you know, when I've been saying for years that it's clearly Jays and pedos that are here interfering with my feed, it's that same thing. You know, guys who scream out MAGA and Trump 2028 and all this other bullshit. These are guys who fucking deal in that shit. These might not be the guys that will come to your house to fuck with your kid, but in the safety of their own home, they're the ones that are looking at all the worst things. And that's why they have the ability to overlook Trump. To be like, oh, well, you know. I mean, again, at this point, how can you even begin to pretend like Trump is innocent? You know, Trump is clearly guilty of something. I mean, at the very least, Trump is guilty of covering for a pedo. You know, at the very least, you could say Trump is a cover-up, or is covering for his best buddy, the pedo, because that's what it was. They were best buddies. Let's see what kind of brilliant things we have. Trump is in the files. He was notified in May. Then he instantly starts a cover-up. Right. So even if he wasn't involved physically, which I absolutely don't believe, that the whole Katie Johnson story is just atrocious. And his history of, like, you know, the whole thing with the beauty pageants and bragging about it, and then the age limit thing. Well, I wouldn't want to be with a 12-year-old. Like, there's just so much that connects him to all of it. That like, at the very least, you should be like, yeah, fuck that guy. He's a pedo supporter. He's you know, he's a bad guy on multiple levels. He no longer gets my support. Like, I get that he's the most, like, openly racist, homophobic, sexist candidate you've seen in a long time. And I get that that's what appeals to you. But even a racist, sexist piece of shit, when it comes to children, when it comes to rape, they draw the line. They say, no, you know. It's like in prison, you know, the rapists, whether it's the rapist or it's the sexual predator, they're targets. All of the bad guys target the rapist. And so, like, I think even your you know, staunchest Trump supporter, as long as they don't have any sort of predilection for children, they're gonna say the same shit. Like, the staunchest Trump supporter is going to see what's going on and go, yeah, why isn't this guy fucking in jail? Why is this guy playing such a horrible character? I can't get behind the guy that insinuates that his age limit is 12. He owned Miss Teen USA. Right, Miss Teen USA pageants, where he was said to have busted into the room. And he bragged about it. He bragged about how, because you own it, you get to do the inspection. And he said it like that, like, I get to do the inspection. He doesn't hide his predilection. Now, it's the same thing as look at the comments. Again, these are the Trump supporters, right? These are the people who oppose me. Instead of being like, you guys are clearly talking about Epstein, Trump, that whole thing, let me give my 2 cents. Let me be like, fuck yeah, that shit's gross. Let me, we got to kill these pedos. Something along those lines. They're desperately trying to get me to change subjects. And it's the same people that have been here numerous times. Like, it's one thing if you're new and you're like, what do you mean, Summer? Like, I guess I get that. If you don't understand titles, I get that. But the majority of the people are people who have been here week after day, week after week, month after month. Like, these are the people who live on my nuts. So they know that my response is going to be, if you want to talk about submarines, go watch the videos where I talk about submarines. If that's really your thing, I've made plenty of videos actually talking about it. So you can go look at those videos if that's what you want to talk about. And even if I were to bring up some stuff submarine-wise, they wouldn't, I've proven it over and over again. They won't stick with it. They won't actually talk about the submarines. It's just obvious bullshit. It's as obvious as it gets. Well, it's not. It's not as obvious as it gets. It's as like I said, it just matches the Epstein Trump situation, where you just think like, everything you're doing makes you look more guilty. And that's exactly what these idiot commenters are. Everything they do makes them look more guilty. And I think I think we have a really good argument at this point. Like, it's or at least an explanation. There's a lot of us that sit here and go like, how does anybody still support Trump? How? Well, put it together. What would allow somebody to support Trump? Right? Similar guilt. Somebody that can overlook pedophilia, who doesn't look at it like it's the most extreme, number one issue, needs to be dealt with, that, me personally, I'm like, kill them, kill them all. You show up to one of the stings. I've said it time and time again. The sting could be presenting as 2 of the hottest 13, 14-year-old girls possible, who are, having a fight because they each think that they give a better blowjob, and they need a judge, so they're willing to give you some gas money to come be the judge of their blowjob contest. If you show up to that shit, we kill you. Very simple. I don't have any sympathy for pedophiles. I don't have sympathy for predators. If you're somebody who's like, oh, but it happened to me when I was a kid, and then you do it to somebody, you know what the fuck that does to somebody mentally, and you do that to another child, yeah, you can just fuck right off. Like, you get killed first. There's no sympathy there. There's no compassion on my end. And that bleeds into rapists too. Like I realize there are some situations where it's a gray area. You know, the 17-year-old is with the 16-year-old and the parents are shitty about it or whatever. I get that. That doesn't fall into that category. But if your dick can stay hard while somebody is screaming no, crying, trying to fight you off, that's not a mistake. That's not a once in a lifetime thing. That's not a, therapy can fix it, prayer can fix it kind of thing. If you can do that, if your dick just naturally stays hard, you're a fucking monster. Like, you're the shitbag there. And there is no sympathy. Like, again, somebody saying no to you should kill your boner. If somebody says, no, I'm not in the mood, you shouldn't be like, oh, that turns me on. That's insanity. So, and again, look at all the people in the comments. Look who's like not agreeing with me. Who's like, oh, this guy's crazy. Oh, this guy, blah, blah, blah. Really? Really? So why do you have such a lax perspective on rape, on child abuse? What is it about you that you make that's okay for you? And again, that just bleeds into the Trump supporter thing. I think that explains why there are so many Trump supporters, because the pedophile problem is a lot bigger than you think it is. And your average, like, to this day, diehard Trump supporter probably deals in awful shit. And you might think, oh, well, my dad does that. He's not. You don't know what your dad looks at on his computer when nobody's around. The problem is, the pedophile thing is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. You look at the registry in your neighborhood or whatever. You see the houses where a registered. Those are just the people that got caught. And when you can look at any neighborhood and there's 2, 3, 5, 10 people in that neighborhood that have gotten caught, it's definitely not 100% of the people in the neighborhood got caught. You can't possibly think that way. You have to understand that the amount of people that actually get caught is in the 1%. It's less than what you would imagine, or you could even sort of allow yourself to comprehend. And that's, this is the explanation. This is the smoking gun explanation that makes things make sense. Because otherwise it really doesn't make sense. How does anybody still support Trump? All of this connection to Epstein, at the very least. I mean, there's so much more, but just the Epstein stuff alone should turn everyone off. I don't buy the idea that you can be, well, I'm a NAMBLA member, but I don't partake in any of this stuff. I just think that they have the right to do that. Like, no. Probably you do fuck with kids. And I think, flat out calling people out, like, oh, you're a Trump supporter, let me see your phone. Let me see what kind of images you have in the hidden folders. Let's check your search history. I'd be willing to bet that way more people than you think. And the thing is, Gordon Flowers actually, he shows you this all the time, which I find strange, but then again, he's a J piece of shit, so I guess it's not that surprising. But the vast majority of people that Gordon Flowers catches at the very least. Alex Rosen. The vast majority of the people he catches are Trump supporters. Why do you think so many people that get caught by these fucking these amazing hunters, these pedophile hunters, are actually Trump supporters? You know, they stick together. And I think it's that explanation that, like, you have to look at it, you have to put your own personal bullshit down. And if you put your bullshit down and you just look at it from a logical perspective, that's what makes sense. It makes sense that Trump supporters are fucking pedos. It makes sense as to why anyone in their right mind could still support the guy who is, you know, I mean, endless connections to Epstein at this point. There just is no. It's fucking stupid. I mean, I'm not somebody that sits here and just, oh, well, I'm just sort of existing in this fucking, in the ether, and I don't think about things. I have to think about things. I see my you know, my constituency, my fellow brothers and sisters, and I always wonder, like, how is it anybody of you support Trump? How does that even work? But now it makes sense. And again, I just, you have to be willing to understand how bad the pedo problem is. You have to be willing to call out your friends. And like, to me, you could be my best friend for 20 years. I accidentally pick up your phone and find some kitty shit in there. Probably going to beat your ass. And I'm definitely not going to be your friend anymore. I'm going to call the police on you. I'm going to do everything. You could be my kid. I find out my kid is a fucking pedo, I'm going to call the cops on him myself. I don't give a shit. There is no excuse for that. There is no justification or reasoning or anything like that. You're just a motherfucker. You're a piece of shit, and you should die. You should be killed. And I mean, am I unique in this regard? Is this like... Look, you have somebody on here that's saying they have CP on their phone. I sure wish that person would show up. I sure wish we could find that person and do horrible things to them. Oh, I would smash you. I don't care who you are. If you're in the feeds and if you're in the comments and you oppose the guy who thinks we should kill pedos, you can't beat my ass, that's for sure. I'd smash the shit out of you. Without question. And again, look at the comments. Ask yourself, who's going to hear the things I'm saying and oppose me? Who's going to hear what I'm talking about and be like, oh, that guy's a bad guy. I disagree. We should give them another chance. We should, you know, send them to pedo camp. We should pray away their bad stuff. What?
They just asked what the best price would be.
$175. Can't hear me, she's deaf as shit. Seriously, I think we need to start calling things out for what they are, right? I mean, who hears me say we should kill all pedos and keeps going? Who hears me say we should kill all pedos and doesn't support that? These are the Trump supporters. These are the Israelis. You know, these are the same enemy that's all lumped together. These are the Matitza Pape pieces of shit motherfuckers. And again, I think it's just, it's interesting. Like, yeah, I love this idea that I'm a self-hating Jew. If I could say that I grew up in the cult and I escaped the cult and now I'm encouraging everyone to destroy the cult, that would give my argument even more weight. It would make my argument even stronger. So I don't know why I'd be hiding this fact. You know, but again, this is what desperate pedos come up with. Right? This is how this works. And that's what the Epstein thing represents. The Epstein shit represents the distraction. At the end of the day, the Palestinian stuff is on the back burner. Less people are talking about it now than they have been in the last however many months. And if you know, if all of the people who are so gung-ho about Epstein and release the files, were the same people saying stop the genocide, you know, cut the fucking strings, stop letting our country be controlled by a foreign country, imagine the power that would have. Imagine the strength that would have. But this is, again, this is what it's all designed to do. This is all part of the design. This is why it's so purposeful, right? It seems like it's on purpose that Trump keeps saying these crazy shits that only a pedo would say, that only somebody guilty would say. And you see these, you know, the daily shows, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. You see the daily show, you see Stephen Colbert, the Late Show got canceled over Trump. Literally, that, you know, 2 days prior, he's bashing the parent company who is settling with Trump out of court for $16 million over the bullshit lawsuit that they bragged about easily being able to win. And then suddenly they decide to settle with him. And when Colbert made a big fucking deal about it, go figure, he got canceled. But they you know, all of these TV shows, all of these news agencies, all of these, all of it. I get accused of it all the time. Like, oh, you keep talking about the same things. You keep talking about the same thing. You're damn fucking right. Until we eliminate the pedophiles, I'm going to talk about it. Until we eliminate the J control and you know, what ended up being a genocide, I'm going to talk about it. And I personally don't think anything else is more important than those two things right now. You know, the pedo thing has been the most important thing, but the genocide aspect of it is equally as bad. It's right up there. It's just newer, I guess. But you know, if you I don't like when my truthers talk about these things. I want to watch you talk about submarines or something. If you want to do that, then you can find anybody else out there talking about anything else. There are plenty of people out there that are too afraid to speak on these things. You know, they want their views. They want it, like Damian Michaels. Damian Michaels is a great example. right? Damian Michaels has one of the better truther shows out there, one of the better truther channels out there. He's always exposing, you know, Tartaria stuff and you know, just all kinds of shit. But he's also really good at creating division between black and white people. And you know, he does a good job in that regard. But you know, you see so many of these people. Like, I've been on Damian Michaels' ass for a while. Like, why aren't you talking about Israel? Why aren't you talking about the genocide? Why aren't you talking about the pedos? And I get it, like, there's, hey, you guys aren't moving, are you? Are you guys moving? Oh, okay. Pardon? Ah, well, glad you're sticking around. Think about this. Think about what you're being presented. And like I say, you look at these Colbert shows, you look at all these things, like all the Tartaria guys, you know, My Lunch Break, Mind Unveiled, Lucius Aurelian. You know, these are great channels. They have great information, but they always seem to stop the conversation whenever it gets to the J level. And as soon as it gets to that J level, they back off because they don't want to risk their views. They're more concerned with being popular. And, you know, I've been asking them for years, like, you know, why aren't you guys, you have these huge platforms, why aren't you bringing these things up? And it's the same thing with the Daily Shows and the Colberts and all that bullshit, right? Why aren't they, you know, this Epstein thing has been a fucking very viable thing that people like me have been called conspiracy theorists and all that shit for since, you know, 2009. This is the thing to talk about right now. And Trump just keeps providing just gold. You know, we have them, what did he say? We have Obama cold, hard, and blue. What the fuck does that mean? The evidence against Obama is cold, hard, and blue. Like, this guy is a treasure trove of clickbait bullshit. Like, he just says whatever. He says the dumbest things. And it provides cover. It provides the distraction necessary. Can you believe what Trump just said? Yeah, you know they killed 100 fucking children yesterday in Israel. Yeah, but Trump said something funny. You know they're finding drugs and shit in the food that Israel insists on supplying to the people they put in the need to get food, to, you know, to be given food in the first place. You know they're finding drugs and shit in that food. I honestly think the worst part about this whole situation, the worst element, is the fact that the parents have to make the choice on whether they continue to allow their children to starve or they take food from the people that caused them to need it in the first place and who are known to poison things. Look, this plane that's right here, it's leaving this big chalky line. It just flew straight up and then started flying. And that plane that's going to Detroit Metro Airport, well, that doesn't have anything coming out of it. But the plane that's going right along the line of the previous one, in the same spots, and that you guys don't worry about that. You know, and it's those same people that'll be like, chemtrail, that's not a thing. Just go look it up. Go look up stratospheric aerosol injection. Go look up weather modification, cloud seeding, marine cloud brightening. Like, it's very much a thing. It's very much obvious. It's very much, you know, easy to look at. And I'd love to talk about it, but to me, it's just a distraction. You know, there are enough people out there talking about chemtrails that you don't need me to do it. We need to stay focused. We need to stay focused on this, eliminating this pedophile, this group. And part of the big issue is you have to be willing to call it for what it is. You can't just, by the way, if you're watching, like, share, and sub, help out. Yeah. If you're in Ipsy, you're in the direction that the plane is going, and there's lots of them. So I doubt it's the same plane, but yeah, makes sense. But we need to be focused, and people need to, you need to understand, like, there's all sorts of truthers out there, and there's all sorts of conspiracy people out there, and I could make videos all day about Tartaria, and Tartaria videos would allow me to have a huge channel. I'd be allowed to exist. I could make videos about chemtrails, and I'd be allowed to exist. I could make videos about the Jesuits, the Christians, the Muslims, you name it. I could talk about just about anything and not have any sort of fear of, being interfered with. There's only one group that we're not allowed to talk about. Look at the little plumes. Oh, I'm sure all the plumes are just normal. The little bloop, 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 bloop plumes. Yep, that makes sense. But I can, this is that thing that we have to be willing to do. We have to be willing to override the programming that's told us we're not allowed to talk about literally anything, anything. If somebody tells you you're not allowed to talk about something, that's the thing you should talk about. I'm real big on freedom of speech. We were watching something the other day where, somebody was saying all this terrible shit about black people and blah, blah, blah. And my wife said something. I'm like, well, let them say, like, that's free speech. They should be allowed to say it. They should be allowed to say whatever the fuck they want. I would much rather know if you're some racist piece of shit than think we're friends only to find out you're some racist piece of shit. I'd rather know right away. But there's only one group that falls under that protection, right? That falls under that, where I have to sit here and I have to be real careful with what I'm saying, because if I say certain words too many times, that makes it bad. If I out this was one group of people too many times, if I say too many things directly, then my feed gets destroyed. That doesn't exist for anybody else, right? That doesn't exist. And again, I encourage you to look at the comment section. Anybody that is way more obsessed, oh look, it flew from there to right over there, and then it must have dropped down, because that's just a normal thing that planes do, right? That's just normal, that it would just leave this big streak and then stop leaving a big streak. Totally makes sense. Sorry, get a little distracted there. You can't get away with that when it comes to J people. Exactly. And like I say, look at the feed. Look at all the people that are desperately trying to get the subject to change. Why do you want the subject to change so bad? Does what we're talking about make you uncomfortable? Is that what it is? Is it the guilt? Yeah. Who hears somebody saying we should kill pedos and doesn't immediately, I don't care what kind of shit you're talking about. You have my support on this thing. I've said it time and time again. I don't care if you're a racist white guy who only goes after black guys who target little boys. That's your hunter niche. You target the black guys who like little boys because you're a super racist and homophobic at the same time. You get my support. I might not like you. I might not want to be friends with you. But what you're doing to protect the children gets my support. I don't, I'll overlook a lot of shit if you're somebody out there, supporting, destroying the pedos, outing the pedos, doing everything you can to eliminate this. And you could be a pretty fucking bad dude, You could be an alcoholic. You could be a crackhead. You could be a lot of things. You're still going to get my support if you're outing the pedos. And you have to look at look at the comments. Look at how many people are supposedly mad at me for talking about these things. Who's going to get mad at me other than pedo Trump supporters? And if anything, it should wake you up to just how big the pedo problem is. Obviously, the pedo problem is a lot worse than people think it is. Right? Like and it's funny too, because you'll see the same doofus trolls sort of mock the chemtrail thing. Right? They're obviously paying attention to what's being said. And something like chemtrails is societally, is acceptable in society. Like it's acceptable to mock pedophiles in society, chemtrails in society. It's acceptable for you to mock somebody that sees chemtrails and calls it out. Most people will, because I guess they're stupid enough to believe that dropping something out of a plane is impossible. Like, share, and sub if you're watching. Dislike if you dislike what I'm saying. And you'll see the commenters, again, talk shit about the chemtrail thing because it's acceptable. Yet when I start talking about the J stuff, when I start talking about the pedophile stuff, they try to switch the subject back to something that's acceptable to mock. They try to get me to talk about the earth shape, get me to talk about the chemtrails, get me to talk about submarines, get me to talk about these things where if you in the average crowd said, oh, this guy was talking about chemtrails, the average person would be like, oh, that's crazy. This guy doesn't think the earth is round. Oh, well, that's crazy. You say that this guy thinks we should kill pedos, most people are going to be like, well, yeah, that's true. We probably should. So they're desperately trying to change the subject back to something that's manageable. Not like they could actually have the decent argument about the earth shape, about the fucking about any of it. They couldn't. It's just like if you try talking to a person that's a pro-vaxxer, right? You're somebody that's gotten all your shots, and yet you still think because I didn't get my shot, you're in danger? Well, what's the point of getting the shots if they don't protect you from people that don't get the shots? It's really simple, and you can, you try to use this common sense with the pro-vaxxer, and they just sort of shut down and they say stupid things. And it's consistent. It's the same bullshit. Herd immunity. Yep, it's herd immunity. Because we're a herd. Not when we need to eat. Not when, we need to live decent lives, not be homeless, all that shit. Then we're all individuals. But when it comes to this, the bullshit microscopic invaders, well, then we need herd immunity. Like, it's just fucking stupid, right? But again, these are the things where, if you say I'm anti-vax in our society, that's been labeled a negative. So people will jump on the bandwagon. People will say dumb shit. People will gain in the conversation. If you say, this guy thinks the world is flat. then, you know, you could say it in a group of people and point, this guy thinks the earth isn't round, and you're going to get a ton of people who are going to then jump in and be on your side in the argument. You know, this guy doesn't believe in Jesus. And again, everybody will, they've been programmed that they jump on that side. This guy thinks we should kill pedos. Nobody's going to like jump on your side opposing me on that one. You know? And even the J thing, like if I, you know, this guy doesn't think that the Jays are God's chosen people and that we should be subservient to them. You're going to find a lot of people who are conflicted in that regard because they go, yeah, I agree. That shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be slaves to this group of people. You know, each one of them gets 2,800 Gentile slaves. It shouldn't be that way. But in society, you've been told you're not allowed to talk about them. You're not supposed to say these things. So it's a more difficult conversation. But it's still, you know, it still has its roots in the religious bullshit. So you'll still get people who will, you know, go with their programming. And those are God's chosen people. Those are God's chosen people. Those are God's chosen people. But the pedo thing is just, it's this island, right? It's this Epstein-like island that, you know, you just won't find support. You start talking about pedos have a right to this, pedos should be, you know, given multiple chances. Like, nobody says that. Nobody you talk to goes, yeah, well, you know, I think pedos should they get busted once and they should maybe do a year and a half in a protected wing of the prison and then get, you know, paid for therapy and all this other shit. And then if they do it a second time, then they should get a slightly harder slap on the wrist. But if they do it the third time, then that's almost crossing the line. Nobody says that shit. Literally anyone you talk to, if you say, well, what do you think should be done to pedos? They're going to say, kill them. Kill them. So that's what you see on my feed. That's why you see so much resistance in that regard, where they're trying to change the subject to something that's more manageable. They can't make me to be the bad guy if I'm all about pedos. We need to kill the pedos. How are you going to make that guy the bad guy? You know, the reality is, if you have anything negative to say about that guy, you're putting a spotlight on yourself. Anybody that comes in here and talks shit to the guy that thinks we should kill pedos immediately gets the spotlight, just like how it should be with Trump supporters at this point. You know, and I'm going to keep going back to it because it's important. We have to understand that the Trump supporter is very likely a pedo. Is very likely someone who trades in child exploitation materials. Is very likely someone you don't want to leave your kid with. And until they prove otherwise, right? Like I'm going to go with that. Oh, look it started right there again. He must have flown straight up and just started flying now and leaving this big, thick, chalky fucking white line right across the sky like that. Right? Again, we have multiple people who have been here plenty and plenty of times, plenty of days. They've spent hours and hours on my feed trying to get my attention, and they're not going, yeah, we need to kill pedos. Think about that, man. Think about what you're experiencing right now. You ask all these people, well, why are you here? If you don't agree with this guy, what is it that you don't agree with? And why do you spend hours every single day not addressing what you disagree with? The vast majority of these fake profiles, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a bunch of weirdos who will avoid questions, avoid the identity or identifying themselves for some strange reason. Like what else could it be? Oh, here we go. I'm schizophrenic again. Let's do a quick little bit of reading just for those who might not understand what's going on here. So we'll go with wiki. I guess we got to do it in order, don't we? So first we have to show you a 30-second clip, because I'm all about proof, right? I'm all about proving what I'm saying and being proven wrong. So here we go. This is IsraelNationalNews.com.
Moetzet Yesha, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to...
Okay, so one of the defense mechanisms is always, oh, Wikipedia? Oh, you're using Wikipedia. Anybody can edit Wikipedia. And it's a stupid thing to say, right? That's a stupid thing to say, because you're just acknowledging that your brain doesn't work, right? Wikipedia gives, there's two options. The page will either be allowed to be edited, or it'll be locked, completely locked, and you can't edit it. The page that can be edited, of course, you can suggest an edit. You're not making an edit, you're suggesting an edit. And whatever you suggest, it's sent to the main hub, where Israelis, or at least the editor, so that was in 2010, and that guy was Naftali Bennett. He is, at the time, a future prime minister of Israel. He's currently a former prime minister, but at the time of that recording, he was a future prime minister of Israel, and he was an Israeli agent through and through. And he's saying that in 2010, Wikipedia is the #1 source of information in the world, and Israel is there to teach the editors of Wikipedia how to edit, how to do their job. Because apparently they got to the #1 position in the world for information just accidentally. And Israel needed to show, needed to go there and teach them how to edit things. And he says, just in case you're misinterpreting what's being said, he gives you the example. If somebody searches the Gaza flotilla, which was a version of today that was happening back then they want to be, the Gaza flotilla, the Gaza flotilla, is that the Ken O'Keefe thing? I think that's the Ken O'Keefe thing. That's pretty fun now that you think about it. Because Ken O'Keefe is a fucking shill, man. No doubt about it. Nobody in today's world brings up Ken O'Keefe and the World Citizen Project, where he stole $130,000 plus from the people, from his supporters, and disappeared. Nobody talks about it. It's really fucking weird. But I digress. But if you look at Wikipedia as obviously the Israelis do, as the #1 source of information in the world, and that they want, when people look things up, they're forcing Wikipedia to edit things to have a pro-Israel, a pro-Zionist perspective. So that means when you're reading Wikipedia, you're reading the truth that Israel wants you to know for sure. it's the official mainstream sort of truth, but it's definitely Israel's truth. I'm not saying everything in Wikipedia is 100% true, but it is the truth that they want us to have. Right? So when I look into Wikipedia, and then the idea that anybody can just edit Wikipedia, well, if that was the case, then Wikipedia would destroy itself. If there was no checks and balances in place, then all somebody has to do is go to a page, click select all, and then click delete. And then go to the next page, select all, delete. And they could wreak havoc on fucking Wikipedia. Somebody would then have to go back through and type all the shit out again. And I mean, it's not an intelligent business move. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. So they give you that illusion that anybody can edit it, and it makes you feel like it's sort of policed by the people. But at the end of the day, as they said, Israel controls it. So when I then go to Wiki and I pull up the act, act.il, and you notice that this page is locked. So even if you wanted to hide behind anybody can edit Wikipedia, well, nobody can edit this page. This page was edited from the inside out, and there's no adjusting it. This says, ACT.IL was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online anti-Israel content such as the BDS movement, boycott, divestments, and sanctions. Its activities were referred to as an online propaganda campaign and a virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. Now, pay attention. ACT.IL directed its users to, quote, missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Users were guided how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. Get it? Or sharing or uploading an allied comment. So the provided talking points. So when you see the same fake profiles over and over again, they've been here for 5 years, 9 years, and they have 0 subscribers. And apparently, they're mad at me for thinking we should kill pedophiles, stop the genocide, and eliminate the J control. You know, like most normal people, you know, right? They're mad and they're saying the same dumb shit. It's schizophrenia. Like, they don't even know what schizophrenia is. And to use it it's so disrespectful to say that about people. You know, to sort of make fun of schizophrenia, to use as this joke. Schizophrenia is terrible. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, except maybe a bunch of Netanyahu type characters. But to you know, to pull that one out, it just shows you like how ridiculous and desperate these fucking idiots are. But to think that so many random people all over the world all would say the same dumb shit, the same inaccurate dumb shit, it's just not how it works. So when you see all these detractors on my feed, understand that of course, they're going to be focused on guys like me. They literally have shit like this, which provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. And by completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. They got prizes and shit. It benefits them to do what's, you know, to come to these pages, to find or be given channels like mine, and then told, you know, go do something here, go interfere, go try your best to just get him to stop talking about Israel, get him to stop talking about the Jays, get him to stop talking about the pedo stuff. And that's for the people, that's for the live audience. On the other hand, they have Team Jorge, which has the illusion of being able to be edited, but it clearly can't be. Team Jorge is is the name given to just one Israeli outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. Meaning if they can fuck with elections, presidential elections, they can probably fuck with my little YouTube feed. And again, this is just one organization that was exposed. Israel has hundreds, if not thousands, of black ops organizations that do this exact same thing. The group was exposed, this one group was exposed in February of 2023 after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of investigative journalists, meaning another journalists from the UK, from the US, from Tanzania. Like, this was a consortium. This was a worldwide project. The organization has been active since at least 2015, and the year before Trump lost the election, but then the AIPAC swamp that he swore he was going to drain put him in office anyway. He lost by 2.7 million votes and was put in office anyway by the same swamp he was supposedly against. And you're told that Russia interfered with the election. Russia, though you're never actually given any proof. You're never actually shown any examples of how Russia interfered with the election. Team Jorge clearly interfered with the election. But you should focus on Russia instead. Active since at least 2015 and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide, at least 4, many of them in Africa, so don't worry, white people, it's Africa, and in 27 cases with successful results. Imagine anybody doing something 33 times and having 27 successful results. Like, that's a really, really high percentage. That's very successful. If a baseball player hit the ball 27 out of 33 times, he'd be considered a GOAT. All-time greatest hitter of all time, no doubt. That's an extremely high percentage. To think that they only failed 5 times or 6 times, that's pretty spectacular. Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal, T-A-L, Hanan, H-A-N-A-N, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. According to him, Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. I mean, just think about it. Imagine North Korea. Not Kim Jong-un, but a high-level representative. Imagine China. Imagine Russia. Imagine anyone saying any of these things. Bragging about interfering with elections, bragging about disinformation campaigns and all of this behind-the-scenes sneaky shit that they do with their super special bot farm software that nobody's ever even seen before. They actually say it's more like avatars. It's not actually bots because it's so advanced. And the consortium of journalists from all over the world, all those tech nerds who had their hands on this story, they said they'd never seen anything like it. There's no other software like it on Earth. Nobody else has the ability to create 30,000 bots, 30,000 avatars to be able to either sick them on somebody for good or bad. They can create stars They have 30,000 bot, for this one group has 30,000 bot profiles that they can generate to boost your page. You're gonna get real famous real quick. And imagine if they used more than one of their more than one of their groups to boost somebody. That's 100,000 likes and comments and all that shit. 4 groups could do that. And imagine if they then stick it on somebody. 30,000 bot profiles attacking somebody who's saying something they don't like said. I mean, it's as obvious as it gets. I don't know. It's as obvious as somebody has 15 likes and 21 viewers. How does that make sense? If you're watching, like, share, and sub, I'd like to say it helps, but I guess it doesn't. But still, it makes me feel good. I like knowing that there are other people out there who agree that we need to fucking eliminate this menace before it destroys us again. But how many feeds have you been to that at one point there was 150 viewers, and now here we are 20 minutes later, we're down to 20 viewers, but we have 15 likes. How many feeds do you see that work this way? Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. Does it sound kind of familiar? Look, we're 16 and 16 right now. That makes so much sense. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. So, using the system that they want us to have, remember this, Naftali Bennett,
in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
So the #1 information source that future and former prime minister bragged about controlling, nothing coming out of that plane. Nothing coming out of that plane. The source that the future and former prime minister bragged about controlling, about teaching them an instruction day to teach the editors how to do their job that they had been doing successfully since who knows when. I haven't actually looked up the history of Wikipedia. That'd be a good one. That'd be an Inception-like deep dive. Using the system that they clearly want us to use, that they brag that they control, and that they want us to use, I show you how they what's up, Duke? Morning.
Morning.
That's Ozzy bullshit. I couldn't care less. Okay. And that's kind of like how I think about all of it at this point, right? I've gotten to this point in my journey where it's like, okay, all of you superstars out there, you've by now made more than enough money. You could live the rest of your life off of the money that you have. And the more famous you are, the more access you've had. And all of you famous people out there who absolutely 100% know the chosen conspiracy. You know the J conspiracy that runs Hollywood. You know the pedophile shit is out fucking outrageous. And you've kept your mouth shut. You know? You I appreciate the music you've made. There's lots of songs that I like that you've made. But the reality is, you've turned a blind eye to the worst shit possible. You know, the Cosby story, right? It mirrors the Weinstein story, but Cosby is the black guy, so Cosby is the example, right? People act like Cosby was this popular, you know, like the Huxtables were from today. You know, he'd been riding a wave for a long time. He hadn't done shit in a long time. So, you know, he wasn't a popular superstar in modern times. He just, you know, nostalgic wise, yeah. But he was rich as all fucking hell too. But there's an interview with James Amos, the dad from Good Times, a Vlad TV interview. And he's talking about how everybody knew Cosby's MO. This is back in the early 80s he's talking about. Everybody knew who Cosby was. And you've heard that story time and time again where people come out and say, yeah, everybody sort of knew Cosby was a bad guy, blah, 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 blah. Well, then why the fuck didn't any of you say anything? When Corey Feldman was the only one that had the balls to seemingly say something, if that's even a believable narrative. You know, and he might be the exception. He might be the guy that's like, nah, fuck that. I've never heard him denounce his chosen origins. But he very well could have been the guy that was actually truly saying something. How come none of the famous people came to his back? How come none of the famous people came to back him up and you know, came to his defense, helped him financially, anything like that? These stories are, you know what I stumbled across the other day? It was Coney 2012. You guys remember Coney 2012? I think Coney 2012 was the first, like, social media was the first, like, it was just an operation. It was a psyop. But it was the first of its kind where you saw people changing their profile pictures and, you know. And then you have the narrative of the guy who put it out there, turns out to be a slimeball who is found running around naked, screaming they're trying to kill me kind of shit. You know, another one of those crazy conspiracy stories. And it just disappeared. I'm going to look it up, actually. Let's take a look at what Coney 2012 is. It's been a long time since I've looked this up. We'll go to the trusted source. Be interesting to see if this is... It's not locked. I thought this page might be locked, but I guess we have to have the illusion on this one. Coney 2012 is a 2012 American short documentary film produced by Invisible Children, Inc. The film's purpose was to make Ugandan cult leader, war criminal, and ICC fugitive Joseph Kony globally known so as to have him arrested by the end of 2012. Interesting that he was out of Uganda. When, if you know again, it's all connected, because in the late 18s, early 19s, the late 1800s, early 1900s, Theodore Herzl who is sort of known as like the father of Israel, before they could actually put the Palestine wheels in motion, there was the Uganda project, and they were gonna make Uganda the Israel for the time being, until they could take over Palestine. They were gonna make Uganda the land of the Jews. And the only reason it didn't work is because they knew that it would require too much work. It would require too much farming. Uganda was too far out of the loop to be able to supply them with all of their, Semitism that they require. So it was abandoned. But Uganda was almost Israel before there was an Israel. So you have this connection with Joseph Kony, who was this guy, and it happens to do with children. It's like, again, it's interesting how it's actually talked about. So for years, I would always wonder why nobody talked about the fact that Donald Barr, former Attorney General William Barr, or Bill Barr, the Attorney General under Trump that was brought in, I think it was like the third one that year, and he was brought into, he was actually served under Bush Jr. too, or was it Bush? No, Bush. He served under Bush as the Attorney General. But he was brought in to, just before the Epstein thing, before Epstein, quote, died in prison. And nobody talked about the fact, like, William Barr should have recused himself from being the one to make the decision. William Barr was the one that had the final say into whether the U.S. government did a full-on investigation into Epstein's death. William Barr had the final say so. And I believe, because this is where I have to speculate based on the information that I'm given, it was his younger brother who became the physicist, 3 years younger than him, coincidentally the same age as Epstein. Their father, Donald Barr, was the headmaster at the Dalton Academy for 10 years. He also was an agent for the first iteration of the CIA when it was the Office of Special Services or whatever. He was an agent for the original CIA, but then he went into the educational system and was the headmaster of the Dalton School for 10 years up until June of 1974, just after he gave an unqualified Epstein the job where he was in charge of teenage girls, and then subsequently was fired 2 years later for having multiple instances with, inappropriate instances with underage girls. Like, it's so crazy, right? But what's even crazier is in 1973, just before he gave Epstein that job, and like I said, he left the Dalton Academy the same month that Epstein was given the job. It was basically his last name. At the same time, William Barr was also a CIA agent during that time frame. Donald Barr, the Attorney General's father, in 1973 published a book about an oligarchical space, like that we had conquered space, and that an oligarchical society of 7 families. Like if you understand. Oh, by the way, Donald Barr's family was Jewish and they converted to Catholicism when he was a kid, apparently. And the whole idea of the 7 families, do you not understand the connections to the 7 tribes? And like, I mean, it's all right there. But the family, or the 7 factions that controlled the galaxy, the universe, whatever. They all they did was rape children all day. That was their thing. An oligarchical society that raped children. He wrote a book about that in '73, and then gave Epstein the unqualified job teaching over children. Only to have his son be the one to decide to not do an investigation into Epstein's death. I mean, I'm doing it now, right? The conspiracy is so juicy, is so huge and all-encompassing that instead of talking about the genocide like I'm supposed to be talking about, I'm talking about Epstein like I'm supposed to be talking about. You know, Epstein is this fantastic distraction. You know, it's the connections to Epstein that should be really be focused on. And to say that it's just a coincidence that William Barr, that his younger brother, who is the exact same age as Epstein, you know, that their dad, I mean, it's if I was in court, I would be able to find somebody guilty. With the evidence that I'm presenting and the lack of evidence against, you know, this would connotate guilt, right? And at the very least, it would warrant a very, very in-depth investigation, because this is just ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as not understanding that that much air allows a 200-pound body to float. And the only way a 200-pound body my 200-pound body can sit on the bottom of the ocean or the bottom of the lake or the bottom of the water, whatever, is to blow out all of my air, is to blow out worth of air. That air makes up what? 1-2% of my entire body mass inside my little lungs. And yet that much air keeps a body floating, but a giant tube the size of 80 school buses with people and all sorts of things inside of it, pressurized air, can sink up and down, swim all through the ocean, through the water, because of ballast tanks. It's just so stupid. It really is a stupid thing. Submarines really are a stupid, stupid argument. But people just don't, you know, they don't want to address it. They can't debunk what I'm saying. So they attack or they talk shit, whatever. But, you know, look at this. How come nobody is debunking anything I'm saying? How come they're only talking shit? If I'm wrong, it should be easy to explain. You should easily be able to find proof. Or provide proof, I should say. again, it's as stupid as believing that there are real people, real Americans, real people in the world who aren't pedophiles and who aren't Jays, but they want me to stop doing what I'm doing. They come here and watch me day after day after day, hour after hour, to tell me that I don't matter and that I should stop providing the video that they're watching, that they set alarms to watch. Yep, here we go. And the reason why it's because I won't listen. Of course I'm not going to listen to you. One, I can't hear you. But two, who the fuck do you think you are? You think you know more than Wikipedia? And if it's funny how, and this is what was happening yesterday, you're capable of saying things like I won't listen, and you're capable of talking shit knowing that I'm not going to listen, knowing that I'm just going to deny it, you know, whatever. You'll say stupid shit, but you won't say the real arguments that actually prove me wrong and prove you right because I won't listen. What's the difference? I mean, you know, from your perspective, you'd look a lot better, you'd look a lot smarter, you'd look a lot more capable. You wouldn't look as guilty, but that doesn't seem to be something that you're interested in. Instead, you want to, you know, you want to pretend like I'm the bad guy because I think we should kill pedos. Because I ask questions that you're not smart enough to ask or answer. But again, you will talk shit. That's what you will do. That knowing that the shit talk, like I want you to do that, right? I want you to continue to, because it makes me look better. You know, the fact that you can't even begin to address what I'm saying, let alone debunk anything, and it bothers you so much that you know, crybaby, talk your shit, blah blah blah. You could literally go do you could make your own feed where you specifically talk about the things that I'm talking about and prove them right. You know, or prove me wrong, prove the things that I'm saying are wrong, you prove that right. You could do all sorts of other things. But the only thing you're capable of doing is coming here to talk shit. Knowing, you know, again, that's to me, like that says a lot more than anything else. You know, it's more powerful than when people agree with me. Because you're inspired to say something, but you can't, you're just not capable of addressing the thing being said. I'm not the one denying the existence of submarines. Don't know what that has to do with anything. What's your education level, just out of curiosity? Again, anything but acknowledge what's being said, right? Right? Trying to distract, trying to come up with anything you can. It's funny. It's funny. If I'm so stupid, then just debunk what I'm saying. Then pick any of the topics that apparently are inspiring you to be here. Because if I ask you why you're here to begin with, you're really not going to say anything other than the it's entertaining bullshit, which, again, you could be watching anything else. You could be playing video games. You could be going to the beach. You could be fucking vacuuming. You could be jerking off. You could be banging a broad. You could be doing anything. And instead you're here is not a knock. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Yesterday we finally got somebody to say something, and the thing that he finally came up with was he was concerned about my health. That's why he's here. That's why he's here talking shit all the time, not supporting the killing of pedos, not supporting the stopping the genocide or eliminating the J control, because he was concerned with my health because I cough when I smoke pot. Oh my gosh. That's why this dude spends hours every single day begging for my attention by talking shit. That was the best that they could come up with. And he tried doing this other shit where, like, you know, this other guy, that this guy's doing it now, where he's, well, it's, I don't say it because you won't listen. I'm not, because you'll just deny it. I'm not, you know, the shit, the childish stuff, the obvious stuff. Well, I was just asking, you know, I know what it means. I was just seeing if you know what it means. You know, that kind of dumbassery where somebody actually thinks they're slick, but they're not. And after, you know, multiple attempts to do that thing where it's my fault that they won't answer the question, they won't answer the simple question, what motivates them to be here? What is it that you disagree with? Why do you disagree with it? Not just what, but why? The best he could come up with was he was concerned with for my health. No, I'm trying to figure out what makes you so ignorant. Yeah, see what I mean? I couldn't write it any better myself. Like, I would be, if somebody was saying the things I am and was challenging me the way that I'm challenging them, my ego would step in, and I wouldn't be able to sit there and keep playing stupid. I'm just not good at playing stupid. Algo used to say he liked that people, you know, had negative perceptions of him so that when he starts going into it, they're sort of taken by surprise. And I always thought that's the last thing I want. I want you to expect the very best from me. And if I don't deliver on providing the very best arguments, the very best information, the very best whatever, then let me know. And you know, I don't want you to expect that I'm stupid and then I surprise you with it. I want you to hold me to the highest fucking standards. And if I'm getting a number wrong, which you guys like to do, if I'm getting a number wrong, or I'm getting a date wrong, or I'm getting something actually wrong, point it out. Let's hear it. But here we go. Here we have yet another example of somebody who's been here for months. Like, I've seen this dude's profile for months. You know, every day, hour after hour, watching me, saying stupid shit, trying to get attention, doesn't have a family, doesn't have a life. His life is Guy Williams. Because if I were to go later, if I come online late, he's going to be there. Doesn't matter when I'm live, doesn't matter, you know, what I'm talking about. He's there and he's talking shit. Instead of giving a very simple answer, well, I'm here because I think you're wrong about this because of this, he just keeps coming up with more dumbass shit to say. If I'm wrong, then why is that how it works out every time? You know, if I'm wrong, it should be, you know, you should be able to do to me what I do to everything else. You know, I use the I use the Wikipedia because it's the source they want us to use. I don't want to have to be like, oh, you gotta find this special website and then scroll all the way down and find this and find. I don't want to do that. I want to use the most basic, easily accessible, available information we have. And according to everything, Wikipedia is the #1 source of information. And everything that Wikipedia talks about, there's the references down below where you can go find the actual articles if that's what you need to do. So it's all there. At least, I mean, as far as the official narrative goes. Do I think Wikipedia is 100% true? Fuck no. Do I think there's a lot more truth on Wikipedia than people realize? Yes. Yes, for sure. Am I asking questions and then answering them like I'm fucking Chandler Bing? It appears that way, yes. You know, I don't argue in a way that leaves too many openings for opposition. You start arguing against what I'm saying, you're going to look like a piece of shit. Just like if you're still a Trump supporter after everything that's gone down, you're really starting to look like a piece of shit. And in my mind, a pedo piece of shit. That seems to be the narrative. You support pedos, you're probably a pedo. Anyway, it's really hard to talk about stuff without it bringing us back to the Jays, to Israel, to the control scheme, to the top of the fucking heap. And to me, we should be talking about the top of the heap. So I gave it enough time. 16 likes with 9 viewers is ridiculous. So I'm going to reset, and hopefully when we come back, they allow us to at least have the views for a little while that we should have. So in the description, you'll see the website for the download, free download. It'll ask you how much you want to pay. Just put 0. It's free. Or donate. We really appreciate it. It's going to be a link to the most important film ever made, Hollywoodism, which is, it explains everything that's happening right now and who controls it. And it's made by them. It's not a movie made by someone like me. It's not a loose change. It's not a Alex Jones Obama deception. It's them flexing, not realizing how stupid it makes, how stupid they are and how bad it makes them look. And then there's going to be 3 links to our Facebook, the music videos on Facebook. Go check those out. Like, share, sub, do all that good shit. Like, share, sub here. And if you want to continue the conversation, I'm going to come right back, but I just wanted to throw that out there. All the links will be in the description. Have a great day. Pedophiles, kill yourself.